The Orpheus Choir of Wellington's first subscription concert this year was a sellout success, so join us for our second and final subscription concert featuring Mozart's Sparrow Mass and Fauré's stunning Requiem. In this video, we'll take a sneak peek behind Mozart's Mass in C major, the Spatzenmesse, or Sparrow Mass. We know Mozart as an extraordinary composer, violinist, pianist, and even as a viola dabbler. However, did you know he also worked as an organist? Under Prince Archbishop Colloredo, Mozart worked as a court musician in Salzburg from the age of 17 to 21. He composed, directed music for the liturgy, and played the organ. Mozart's relationship with his employer, the Prince Archbishop, was strained, to say the least. The Archbishop dictated that Masses be no longer than 45 minutes, and with all that goes on during a high Mass, this left little time for music. He also required Mozart to keep the music uncomplicated. Placing compositional regulations on a genius like Mozart, keeping things brief, straightforward, is like telling Michelangelo to only paint the Sistine Chapel with the colours beige, ivory, snow, cream, and eggshell. However, unlike Mozart's typical rebellious maverick streak, he went along with the demands of Archbishop Colloredo, and curiously, a vast majority of the masses were written in C major. For anyone who doesn't know much about C major, it's a key that is particularly easy to navigate for beginner keyboard players. This is because it uses no black keys. The score is easier to read because the music lacks a key signature and will have far less use of accidentals. Personally, I find C major quite difficult on the piano because the black keys are kind of like the bumps on the F and J key of a computer keyboard. They give you something to grip onto. C major, unfortunately, is far less ergonomic. So why did Mozart create so many masses in C major? Was this Mozart's sarcastic and cynical attempt to criticize the limiting demands put on him? Did he decide to be rather literal about a color palette mentioned earlier of beige, ivory, snow, cream, and eggshell? This is a fair assumption. Mozart was, after all, mischievous and even put some of his filthy humour to music. For example, Lech mich im Arsch, a canon of 6 voice parts that translates to kiss my ass. Lech mich im Arsch, lech mich froh sein, I promise the word ass will only be used one more time in this video. If Mozart purposely chose C major as a cheeky protest, he rather failed at creating something boring. The Sparrow Mass is actually joyfully festive with original strokes at every corner. In fact, it's for this reason I've chosen this work to begin our concert. The beautiful simplicity clears the palate and prepares us for the emotional demands of Fauré's Requiem. The textural quality of the Sparrow Mass is worth noting. In musicology, there are 3 main textures we often refer to. There is monophonic texture, where a single melodic line of the same pitch and rhythm is sung or played by one or many instruments in unison. Gregorian plain chant is a really good example of this. Or a group of people singing Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you.
Homophonic texture is where one voice or melody stands out from the background accompaniment, or where chords move together with the theme. Most pop music is predominantly homophonic. Actually, it is the most common texture in Western music. Church hymns illustrate this well. The third and final texture is polyphonic texture, where multiple parts that carry equal importance coincide. For example, in a round, canon or fugue. Keeping in mind that Mozart had to keep the Mass short, he was forced to leave out any form of imitative compositional style which contributes to polyphony. Therefore, the choir is treated homophonically virtually throughout the work. Evidence of this would be the ending of the Gloria and the Credo, where it would be usual for a composer to end with some kind of fugue towards the end. In comparison to that polyphonic texture, the Sparrow Mass Gloria closes with decidedly vertical homophony. And with its considerable 7-second reverberation, this cleaner texture will actually work perfectly for our venue, the Wellington Cathedral of St. Paul. The nickname Sparrow was applied due to the unmissable bird-like chirps in the Sanctus and the Benedictus. A solo SATB quartet features throughout the Mass, but it is in the Benedictus, the most beautiful movement of the Mass, that they get to shine. Interestingly, it's still very homophonic, with the soprano carrying the thematic weight accompanied by the alto, tenor and bass. Keeping to his simplicity, the Mass concludes at the Dona Nobis Pacem with themes from the Kyrie. Being a good subject to the Archbishop, Mozart sits clearly in C major throughout. In the last 3 bars, however, Mozart does something rather odd, as if to discredit everything previously said, or to say one final ha-ha to the Archbishop. completely out of context and pushing the limits of what was harmonically acceptable at the time. Mozart plonks in a sequence of diminished chords, and it happens so fast that I can just imagine the Archbishop being slightly dazed and confused, as if, was that a mistake? It was many years later, after time away from Salzburg, that Mozart's relationship with the Archbishop finally reached its limit. Mozart tried to resign his position but was denied. Eventually, he was granted leave, but insultingly, this was done by the Archbishop Stewart literally kicking Mozart in the ass. To finish this video, I wanted to close with one final fun fact, or should I say theory. The composer Süssmayr relied on works like the Sparrow Mass to assist him in completing Mozart's unfinished Requiem following Mozart's death. I think it's fair to assume people are more likely to have heard Mozart's Requiem than his Sparrow Mass, so rather spookily, if you come to our performance, you'll discover many moments that sound like quotes from Mozart's Requiem. Here is my favourite comparison. Mozart's Sparrow Mass will be an injection of light to start the evening off before the famous Requiem by Fauré. Do not miss this opportunity to hear this Mass and Fauré's Requiem sung by the mighty Orpheus Choir of Wellington at the mighty Cathedral of St. Paul. Visit orpheuschoir.org.nz for more details. I'll see you soon in my final video of the subscription series as we dive into Fauré's Requiem.